Hello. Um, Today I'm going to try to talk about something I've actually never said out loud, so I might not do the greatest job at it, but if you catch yourself watching this video, I invite you to be patient with me as I try to make sense out of something that's been ruminating in my mind for quite some time. So, a lot of us, we, well, I won't speak for other people, I'll speak for myself. So there's certain ways that I show up in the world that people would say are my personality. Some aspects of them are. Some people say I'm serious. Some people may say that I'm inquisitive. Some people may say that I'm direct, for lack of a better word. Other things, and people will take those ideas of who they think I am, and they'll say that's Pedro's personality. And a lot of us, we show up in the world, and our personality kind of is I guess, a container for ways that we present ourselves to people. And a lot of us think that our personality is something that we can't help, that we don't choose our personality. Maybe something happened to us and we developed some personality trait, or maybe we got it from our mom or our dad or whoever we're around. And so we think that our personality is static. We also think that our personality is us. We think that we are how we show up in the world, but that's not necessarily the case. But because we think that way, a lot of times it's difficult for us to change, or we at least believe that it's difficult for us to change some aspects of our personality. There may be some way that you show up in the world. Maybe you get attention for how you show up in the world, but you yourself know that that way that you show up actually isn't the most healthy way of showing up in the world. And yet you say, well, I can't help myself, or that's my personality. Or sometimes people say, well, that's how I am. Take it or leave it. And we take that idea that that is the whole finality of who we are. And so I'm presenting to you today, and for myself, that personality is actually a construct, and it can be taken apart and reconstructed in different ways, and that we can actually choose it. And it doesn't really matter how we grew up or what we've been exposed to. If we see some aspect of how we show up in the world and we want to show up differently, we can make that choice. So I'm saying that while being in the midst of an actual personality transformation that I'm taking part of right now. There's a part of my personality that I think for years has it served me well in some capacities and hasn't served me well in others. And so I'm trying to reshape this aspect of my personality so that I can experience life in a different way. And this aspect of my personality is my protective nature. I've been a protective type person most of my life. Being the oldest son in the house when my dad left, I kind of took that on. And a lot of times in my life, I saw that it was something that was beneficial to myself or others. At the same time, I found that some people don't want to be protected. And so I may think that I'm doing something for someone. I might think I'm being helpful by trying to protect people or some individual when in fact I'm not. And so I've been trying to figure out how to show up in the world, and to minimize that to some degree, and to only apply it where it's absolutely necessary or effective. And there was about, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago now, I was in deep prayer, and I was asking God, like, what are some things about myself that I feel like I might need to change that I can't see. And almost immediately, it was like that protective aspect of yourself. You need to work on that. And I tried to work on it at first, but I couldn't see the downside of it too much. It took me a while to figure that out. But I have now grown to see that while it may be something that is admirable, as I said, in some contexts, it's not always admirable, because there are people like my own children. Sometimes they're not going to want me to protect them all the time. They're going to want to make mistakes and go through things. And me thinking I'm being protective, I may actually end up distancing myself from them, or my wife, or my mom, or whoever it is that I think that I'm serving by being protective. I have to work on myself to realize that that isn't always the case. And so I woke up this morning, and besides asking myself, what would love have me do today? The other question I asked was, who am I when I'm not being protective? And the reality is, I don't 100% know that, because most of the times in my life, I've had somebody in my life that I function in that capacity. but I'm looking forward to and excited about this new aspect of showing up in the world. I'd be more creative, other things. And ever since I started asking myself that question in recent days, going more deeply, I've been seeing instances where I've been doing it a lot more than is probably necessary. So this is a new aspect of my journey right now to ask myself that. Now, you might have something in your life that you may think it's a good thing, or you might even think it's a bad thing. And maybe you need to ask yourself, or at least I'm inviting you to ask yourself, who am I without this character trait or this personality trait? And then be curious and see how that question might change some parts of your life. One of the things that I've witnessed is that a lot of times we make idols of things that we don't realize we're making idols of, and personality is one of them. Our own personality or other people's personalities. So the invitation today is to look at personality, see it for what it is, something that's fluid and not static. And then if you want to change a part of your personality, ask yourself some questions. Hey, Doreen, ask yourself some questions about those aspects of your personality that you feel attached to. You might be like, I'm a New Yorker. That's how I always am. That's how New Yorkers are. And think that that's a part of your personality that you can't do anything about. But that's not true. There are lots of ways to shift oneself if you realize that what you want to shift is shiftable. So that's the invitation for today. I'd love to hear some of the questions that you might ask yourself. So if you do feel like commenting, I'm curious to learn. Maybe there's a question I can ask myself from out of your own journey. So hopefully this video and these other videos are something that adds to your life, and I can also learn on this end. So please feel free to share anything, and I appreciate you.